I firmly believe that you can restart at any time, not just the first day of the new year. Hello and Happy New Year! If you're new here, then welcome to my channel. I'm Bekah, and here you can find bite-sized inspo. While most of my content is very much Taylor Swift related, I'm excited to branch out a bit this year and share some more lifestyle inspiration, just things that I'm discovering, learning, and working towards in my everyday life. So in that vein, in today's video, I'll be sharing 13 reflections on 2024 and 25 directions for 2025. In case you couldn't tell, I was trying to think of 2 rhyming words to make this kind of a catchy title, and the best that I could come up with was reflections and directions. But I mean, it kind of works, right? By directions, I mean 25 ways I want my new year to go, but another way to say it would be 25 priorities for the new year. Now, I know we're already a couple of weeks into the new year. January is halfway over by now, but honestly, the first couple of weeks of January always feel like an adjustment period for me. The holidays are just such a whirlwind that by January 1st, I very much feel like I'm still catching up. So instead of stressing, I'm using this time to reset, reflect on the past year, and set some concrete goals for the year ahead, because I firmly believe that you can restart at any time, not just the first day of the new year. So whether you're still figuring out your goals and priorities for 2025 or you're already going full steam ahead, I hope that this video can give you some inspiration of things that you can check out in the new year. So let's get into it. 2024 was a pretty good year for me. I got to see the Eras Tour in London. I listened to the Tortured Poets Department pretty much on loop for the majority of the year. Can you tell that I am a Swiftie? So yes, I put together 13 highlights from the year. These are just some fun areas that I wanted to reflect on, and I thought you might also get some inspiration from them as well. You could take each item and reflect on your own 2024 if you wanted to. If you do, then I made this outline that you could follow if you want to, and I would love to hear any of your own highlights as well. I've heard this being tossed out a little bit on social media, so if I could sum up my year in one word or phrase, I would say testing the waters. I think I was just trying out some new things this year and just working on being a little bit more social, getting a little bit more out of my comfort zone. So I really want to just keep going and doing that in the new year. The thing that I'm most grateful for in 2024 is that I've been able to get more involved in my church. I've been able to make some really good friends. I've been doing volleyball after church services once a month, and that's something I never ever thought I would do. So I'm grateful for that, and just remembering how good it is to be stuck into community. Especially coming off of COVID and just how isolating a time that was. It's been really nice to just get out a little bit more. My Taylor Swift lyric of the year. This is hard, and I don't feel like this lyric so much sums up my year as it's the lyric that just struck me the most that I heard this year. And it's got to be from Peter and that line, "'cause love's never lost when perspective is earned." I feel like the second I even began to comprehend that line, I was so blown away. I am still so blown away by that lyric, and I just think it's so beautiful and nostalgic and yeah, so meaningful in that song. I could say so many things about it, but I won't because that could be a whole video in and of itself. But yeah, that's my lyric of the year. My song of the year had to be So Long London. I went to London in August. I saw the Eras Tour, and I was so fortunate enough to be there at the last night and to hear Taylor perform that song. And that song means the world to me. It's why I even wanted to go to London. So getting to hear Taylor perform that last year was highlight of my life. So meaningful, so emotional. So yeah, that just has to be my song for the year. But I would say close runner-ups are The Black Dog and The Prophecy. Album of the year, obviously, of course, has to be the Tortured Poets Department. I pretty much listened to it on loop almost every single month since it came out in April of last year. There was 1.5 months or so there after Gracie Abrams released her album where I was listening to that one obsessively. And it takes a lot for another artist to overtake Taylor in my listening loop. So yeah, props to Gracie for that. Such a good album. But now I am back in the Tortured Poets Department grind as I'm working on this decoding series, and it's just, it's such a good album. I am so obsessed. My favorite media of the year. So I am a huge movie lover, but I think last year was my TV year. I got obsessed with The Rookie. If you watch that show, I could talk to you for hours about that show. If you have not watched that show, then I could not recommend any more highly. We started it a few months ago and then got through all 6 seasons by New Year's Day. We finished it on New Year's Day, and I'm so excited that season 7 is now underway. It's been a really long time since I followed a show live, so I'm very much enjoying that this year. But also, earlier in the year, Mom and I watched this K-drama, Crash Landing on You, and when I say it's the best television show I've ever seen in my life, I'm not even exaggerating. I truly believe that it is. That show did things to me. The emotional breakdown I had in the last episode of that show, every episode was quite intense and like so amazing, but that last episode, that show was a lot. So yeah, could not do a reflection on 2024 and television shows that I watched without mentioning that, because that show is just top tier. My podcast of the year is called Becoming Something. I actually discovered this one just a few weeks before the end of the year, but once I started listening to it, I could not stop. I listened to maybe 1 episode a day on average. I think it's really, really good. I've been so encouraged by it. It's led by this pastor who is pastoring a church in Waco, Texas, and he, along with his college ministry and his women's ministry workers, just have this really great rapport, and they share such helpful, relevant, current information for, just as a young adult, just living as a Christian in the world today. So yeah, really highly recommend that podcast. My performance or show of the year obviously had to be the Eras Tour. I mean, you cannot top seeing 5 shows in London. That was unbelievable. I just never in my wildest dreams imagined that I would get to go to all 5 shows in London in August, and every single one was the best night of my life. My recipe of the year has got to be this sourdough discard bread. This has pretty much trumped even the sourdough discard bagels that was basically a weekly staple in our household the year before. I still make those bagels all the time, but I just love how simple this recipe is, and it comes out basically perfect every single time. My best discovery of 2024 has got to be the Buy Nothing group. My sister told me about this, and it just changed my life. So if you haven't heard about these are Facebook groups in loads of different areas all over at least the country. I don't know about elsewhere in the world, but it's basically a local community group, and you join based off of your location. You have to get approved, or at least that's how it worked in my area. You have to get accepted based on your address to join this group. And then basically people just share things that they don't need anymore or don't want anymore with other people who might still have a use for that or be able to use that. I think it's such an amazing concept, and so great to be able to plug a little bit more into your neighborhood and your surrounding community. I love the group and I love the concept of it, and if you have one in your own community, I'd highly recommend joining and seeing if there's things that you can contribute to the group and things that you might be able to benefit from as well. My favorite purchase of the year, I think, has got to be my Apple Watch. This thing has revolutionized my life, especially in content creation. It has been so helpful. If you would be interested in a video covering just all the different ways that I use this Apple Watch, I use it a lot for content creation, but I also use it just in the kitchen for baking and cooking and exercising and all kinds of things. So if you're interested in that, then let me know. My big milestone was I got my braces off in 2024, so that was kind of a big deal. I had them for about 18 months or so. So yeah, getting those off was great, and I even pulled out my clarinet for the first time in years after I got them off, so that was really fun. And finally, I think my most proud accomplishment of this year, this is pretty silly, but the first thing that came to my mind was my surprise song post and just how proud I felt when I put all of those together. And honestly, I mean, it's nothing compared to how proud Taylor should feel having sang all of those mashups and all of the surprise songs, let alone performing all of those 3.5+ hour shows. But it was just nice to complete that project, to keep up with it throughout the Eras Tour. And honestly, I just had the best time creating those and sharing those and just being able to chat with all of you about those surprise songs, to share in all of the emotions after each surprise song set, because it was a lot. And yeah, I miss the Era Store. Okay, now that we've covered my 2024 highlights and reflections, let's look at the year ahead. So I put together a list of 25 directions or priorities for the new year. I'll just go through them all briefly with you because I hope that maybe some of them could give you some ideas of things that you might also want to focus on this year. Before we dive in though, I just wanted to say I think one of my biggest challenges is that I often bite off much more than I can chew. I'll set so many goals and dive in super enthusiastically, but it can quickly get overwhelming and unsustainable. And then by the end of the year, I'll sometimes feel discouraged when I realize that I haven't kept up with everything that I had wanted to. I don't think it's bad to have a lot of goals, but it is important to stay realistic. I was listening to this podcast, the Becoming Something podcast that I recommended, and a guest on this episode suggested picking just one daily habit to focus on for the year. It sounds pretty simple, but if you're intentional and choose something that's really impactful, that one habit can ripple out into all the other areas of your life. And then who knows, 7 years from now, you could have 7 transformative habits that are part of your daily routine. I found that really encouraging and decided to take it on board for 2025. So for me, I'm focusing on one major daily goal for this year. That's the first goal on this list. And then the other 24 items are all things that I definitely want to prioritize, but I'll give myself a little bit more grace with them. With that in mind, let's go through my 25 priorities for 2025. I grouped them into these 5 categories of health and well-being, social media and content creation, getting organized, social goals, and fun goals. So my big goal for 2025 is to read the Bible every single day and to complete a full reading of it by the end of the year. I've been wanting to read through the Bible in a year for ages. I've started so many different plans, so many different years, and just never completed them. But this year, I'm making it my priority. It's the one thing that I want to do every single day because I think it's an area of my life that I have neglected in the past, and I know that it will make a big impact on every other area of my life. So to make it happen this year, I downloaded this app called the Logos Bible app. And I'm following this plan that my brother-in-law actually recommended to me. It's a plan that takes you through the Old Testament once and the New Testament, Psalms, and Proverbs twice over the course of the year. I thought that kind of sounded like a lot, but then I also figured it's well worth the time and the investment to put into it. And I really like the format of this app. I find it so helpful that it all is in one app. It's very easy to track. You can do all of your daily Bible readings in one place and then check them off, and it keeps you on schedule. So I've been finding that really, really helpful. And so far this year, I have been keeping it up. Genesis and Matthew have been going really well because they're more familiar. I did find Ezra a little bit harder, and then now we're into Nehemiah, and those are not as familiar books of the Bible to me, so sometimes I get a little bit lost. I want to get better at reading with my study Bible. My study Bible is like right over there, and just doing more kind of digging into the text when I don't understand what I'm reading, instead of just listening or reading the text and then moving on with my day. So my plan is to try to journal a little bit more, to try to just get, 1 or 2 main points to hold on to from each daily reading. Kind of in line with that, my second priority is to do more journaling this year. My goal is to do it 5 times a week. I have not done that in the last couple of weeks of the new year, so I need to get my butt moving on this goal. But I think it's a really good practice. I did start the year off trying to write down one thing that I'm grateful for every single day. I kind of fell off, so I want to get back into that. And then I think it's also just fun to track highlights of your day, things that you've been getting up to. I really liked the 5-minute journal. I was doing that for quite a bit last year, and then I fell off of it. So I want to get back into doing that because I think it's just a nice practice to have before bed. Next up are a couple of priorities that also have to do with my whole bedtime routine. I struggle a lot with sleep, but I also know I don't to myself. many favors when I have bad sleeping habits like this one. So I'm often scrolling in bed or reading on my phone in bed, and that does not make for the most restful night of sleep. So my goal this year is for my phone to live on the other side of the room every single night. Or well, I'm going to say 5 nights a week, because I think it's a little overly ambitious to expect never to happen again, but it's my goal. I've also actually been thinking about getting one of those sunrise alarm clocks. I don't know if I actually need it, but I feel like just the idea of not relying on your phone for the time and just kind of unwinding and then waking up maybe a little bit more naturally seems like a good investment. Some of them are very expensive, so I'll keep you updated on whether I actually get one or not. But if you have one and it's made an impact on your life, then I would love to hear about it. And if you have any recommendations, then please let me know, because I am in the hunt. My other goal is to stop scrolling on social media at night, but instead to replace that time with listening to a podcast or an audiobook. I started doing this a little bit before the end of 2024, and it has been such a game changer for me. I used to doom scroll a lot before bed just to have a mindless kind of activity to do, but I have since replaced that with listening to a podcast or an audiobook on Audible. Love Audible. And that has just been so nice. I'll put on a podcast of Becoming Something, or, one of my books that's an upcoming priority for this year as well. So that's just been a really nice way to get ready for bed, and it has the added bonus of an end point, like the end of the episode or the end of a chapter, which is better at encouraging me to stop, whereas scrolling doesn't really have that. Number 5 is to do yoga or Pilates 5 days a week. I used to be so good at doing yoga every single day, and I've completely fallen out of the habit. So I want to get back into it. My goal is 5 times a week. And to help make that happen, I purchased just the other week the Down Dog app. This app is so good. I really, really enjoy it. Basically, you can just put in all of your preferences for your practice, how long you want it to be, what you want to focus on, how long you want your Shavasana to be at the end, and then it'll just put together a practice for you, and it's different every single time. It's so easy. It's kind of personalized to what you're looking for in that moment, and I think it's a great app. So I'm hoping that will help get me back into a good routine. I also want to get back into running this year. I used to do a lot more running when I lived in London. Since moving back to the US, haven't been as consistent with it. So this year I signed up for a race in April or May. So hopefully that will motivate me to get back into training. When it's snowy and super cold outside, it's very, very difficult. So I'm not pressuring myself to get back into it straight away. I'm going to wait for the snow to melt and maybe the temperatures to get a little bit more bearable. But I have a race that I am going to run, so I've got to start training for it sooner than later. Number 7 is to drink a half gallon of water 5 times a week or so. And to help with that, I have pulled my half-gallon water bottle out of hiding. I used to drink 2 of these every single day when I was doing 75 hard a couple years ago. I loved that challenge, and that you had to drink a gallon of water every day. But now I'm just trying to drink a half gallon, which is just one of these every day. So basically I just fill this up in the morning, and it has these really nice time markers so that you can kind of gauge where you are throughout the day. And I'm doing pretty good today. It's almost 7 o'clock and we're basically there, almost there. So pretty much if I can get, down here by the end of the day, I'm good to go, because I can drink that right before bed if I need to. So really like this water bottle. It was not that expensive. I just got it on Amazon, and it is huge, but it's just helpful to just fill it up in the morning and then drink it by the end of the day. And my last health and wellness kind of goal is to read 1 new book a month. I used to be such a huge reader, and I love reading. I just feel like it's hard to find the time. But now I'm committing to at least 1 book a month, whether I listen to it or read a physical copy. Either is good, but I want it specifically to be either a Christian book or a kind of helpful, productivity-based kind of book. So yeah, if you have any recommendations, let me know. Then I have a number of social media content creation kind of goals. So these are all pretty personal to me and my channels, but I just wanted to share them, and maybe I can check in with you a little bit more this year and just share how it's going. You'll maybe even be able to tell how it's going as you see what I'm sharing. My main goal in content creation and social media is just to overthink less and to share more. I feel like I can get so in my head about what I'm sharing, and that will just stop me from sharing a lot of content. The amount of footage on my phone and on my camera of videos and reels and shorts that I have filmed and just never ever shared because I got in my head about the editing or whatever is astronomical. So I want to do less overthinking this year, more posting. Specifically, my goal is to post once a day on Instagram and TikTok if TikTok is still around. After this month, we'll see how it goes. So my goal will be one post a day, but if life happens, then life happens. I'm going to try to be a little bit better at planning and preparing things more in advance though, so hopefully I can have more of a kind of backlog. So we'll see how it goes. I also really want to get more into YouTube. Can you tell? My goal is to post maybe on average once a week. Right now I'm actually posting more than that because I started this Decoding the Torture Poets Department series this month. So I've been posting maybe every 2 to 3 days, and that's been so fun. I'm really enjoying that series. But I just want to share a lot more consistently this year. And I would love to share more lifestyle content this year. I don't know what you would even be interested in seeing. So if you have requests or things that you would like to see on this channel, please let me know. I'd love to hear it. But my plan is to just create content that I'm inspired to create and to share things that I want to share and then see what your response is, see what you're interested in, and kind of go from there. I just want to put out content that I'm proud of and that I really think could hopefully be inspiring to you. I would love to start a Patreon this year. I kind of floated this idea last year and I've thought a lot about different tiers and things that I could offer, but I haven't figured out exactly how I want to structure it. So if you have thoughts on what you would be interested in seeing, what you might be interested in, if you wanted to be a supporter, a patron, then I would love to hear your thoughts. But that is in the works, so stay tuned and hopefully I can get something going this year. I also want to update my blog this year. It's kind of old. I feel like it's a bit not the most organized or up to date with the current content that I'm putting out. So I want to revamp that and get that a little bit more organized. I also want to keep growing my Dear Reader newsletter. I love writing these newsletters and sending them out. I just think it's a really fun way to connect with you and to share all kinds of Swiftie news. So if there's anything you would like to see in those newsletters, things that you would be really interested in seeing coming into your inbox, then let me know. I really want to get into selling things on Facebook Marketplace this year. This is a new space for me, so very much am still exploring and trying to figure out how to get into that, but that is something I want to work on this year. And my last content creation goal is, if you didn't know, I also have a podcast. It's nothing to do really with Bites by Bekah, but I'm also a musician. I did all of my training and my degrees are all in music. So I started this podcast where I interview musicians about the different career pathways that they take. It's so varied, it's so diverse, and I think it's so interesting just to hear how people orchestrate their own careers, hence the name of the podcast, Orchestrating Your Career Podcast. I've been able to interview some really cool people. It's quite a niche topic, but I hope that it's helpful for people in that space. But it is a very small podcast. So I just want to work on getting more content out there, kind of rebranding that podcast and, hopefully growing it a little bit more in 2025. Okay, these last goals I'll go through a little bit more quickly. So I have a couple to do with just getting organized. I don't know if you can relate to this, but I have such a storage problem. So I really want to work on that this year. My two areas that I really want to tackle are my phone storage, my iCloud storage, and my laptop files and storage. So I want to try to work on deleting things from iCloud almost every day, maybe 5 times a week. My plan for that is if you search for the date in your Photos app, I don't know if this works on Android, but it does on iPhone. If you just search for the date, don't include the year, just search, for example, January 1st, your phone will bring up every single photo and video that was taken on January 1st, regardless of the year. So what I'm trying to do with this is just every day pull up the photos and videos that I've taken on the day and then go through and weed out anything that's unnecessary, anything that's duplicate, anything that doesn't need to be there anymore, delete those kind of things. And then with my laptop as well, I just kind of want to pick, a couple days every month and just tackle different folders, get those a little bit more organized. A couple of goals to do with friendships and just trying to be a little bit more social. So I really want to try to either call or meet up with a friend once a week. And I'm a really big foodie. This whole account actually started as a food blog, but I don't really get out a lot. And I'm not super far from Washington, D.C., so I feel like there are places that I could check out. So I kind of want to just try like one new food spot a month. Last 5 goals, these are all just kind of fun goals. I would love to do some more tracking this year, specifically of books that I've read, TV shows that I watch, movies that I see. I think it'd be really nice to get to the end of the year and have a good lay of the land of all the things that I discovered and enjoyed in the past year. So I'm thinking just get some Notion trackers going. I love Notion. I use it for so many different things. As someone who really nerdily likes organization, Notion is my jam. I would love to restart trying to learn Korean. I am half Korean, and I did try before to learn Korean. It did not go very well. So I'm thinking maybe I'll get an app and see if I can get into a little bit of routine with it. If you have any language app recommendations specifically for Korean, I would love to hear. I want to travel to a few different cities this year. I have some trips potentially planned, so hopefully I can make this goal happen, but I do really love travel, and I would love to share more about travel here on this channel as well. As I said, I'm a huge foodie, and this whole Bites by Bekah thing started as a food blog, so I really kind of want to get back into sharing more recipes and things like that, and trying out new recipes, because I feel like I have hit a little bit of a rut. So my goal is to try at least one new recipe every month. Hopefully more, but I'll keep it to one just to make it very manageable. And maybe I can even share what that recipe is at the end of each month, either in a blog post or in a video or something like that, and just kind of share a little bit more about how that food journey is going for me. And the last one is I really would love to learn one song on the keyboard every single month. So I got a keyboard, it's right over there in my room, and I am no pianist, but I am a classically trained musician, and I've always wanted to be able to play the piano, specifically to play Taylor Swift songs on the piano. So I'm kind of thinking maybe I can just learn like one Taylor Swift song on the piano every month. I think that'd be really fun. Maybe I could even share each song that I learn with you. I don't know if you'd be interested in seeing that, but I don't know. I've been fiddling around a tiny bit. I even pulled the keyboard into my Decoding the Torture Post Department series a little bit, and it's just fun to kind of play around. And a lot of Taylor songs aren't super complicated, so I would love to learn Peter and LOML, and I did kind of figure out the beginnings of Champagne Problems, which is pretty simple. So yeah, I'm thinking maybe one song a month, but maybe I'll share that. Maybe I won't, because probably nobody needs to hear that, but I don't know. I'm excited to have a keyboard and just to hopefully learn some Taylor Swift songs this year. So those are my 2024 reflections and 2025 directions and priorities. What were your favorite memories from the last year, and what are your goals and priorities for this new year? I would love to hear them. Leave them in the comments below. And if you're a Swiftie like me, I'm currently sharing a series called Decoding the Torture Post Department. We're diving into Taylor Swift's latest album, one track at a time. I'm having the best time with it. I'm basically listening to these tracks all the time, thinking about the lyrics and the music, and just really diving deep into these tracks. And there's so much to chat about and to share and to discuss with you. So I would love for you to check out that series if you're interested, and to subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more bite-sized inspo. I'm so excited to see what this upcoming year has in store for us and to be able to share in it with you. So I will see you in the next one. Bye! I'm trying out a new location for this video. This is just the opposite side of my room. I set up fairy lights on this side, and I don't know. What do you think? Does it give cozy vibes?